Hi guys, in this session we will discuss about interpolation and property binding. Interpolation allows us to incorporate dynamic string values into HTML. Let's see this with an example. Here we can see welcome to Angular text is serving from the app.component.html. Let's do the same thing with the help of interpolation. I am taking one h1 variable and I am taking some double curly braces. Here we represent interpolation as double curly braces. Okay, I am taking one property into the class component. Let's say greet. It is a user defined variable. You can give anything you want. So the same text I will give it here. Welcome to Angular. I am using in the class template. So I want to bind this one variable greet into the HTML template inside the flower braces first. So this is working as expected. Here what we have done, instead of writing that static text into the HTML file, we made the text into the component file and we have assigned that one into a variable and we are using this variable into the HTML file. So this double curly braces represent here the interpolation. Interpolation can be used in many ways, like evaluating expressions. Let's say if we want to perform some addition of two numbers, we can able to do with the help of interpolation. Let's say I want to perform addition of 5 plus 6. Go to the web page. Here you can see sum is 11. Let's wrap this one into the some h1 tag so that you can see. So I am taking one h1 tag here. 5 plus 6 plus, let's add one more number, 9. Okay, here you can see the sum of three numbers is 20. So with this we can able to perform arithmetic expressions also. In the same way we can able to bind HTML properties with the help of interpolation. Let's see that one also. Let's see, I want to bind the value ID of this h1 tag. So let's say something ID equal to 5. I am taking in the component file. I want to this ID into the HTML file. I want to bind that ID. So use the interpolation and bind that ID. You can see, inspect that element and here you can see ID equal to 5. Here it is 5. And we can able to do many more things with the help of interpolation. Let's say I want to bind image src with the help of interpolation. Let's use the same double curly braces and we want some image, so that I have here something. I'll put this image URL on the template file. Let's name this one as image src. Paste it here and close this braces and use this variable into the image src. We should get the image. Something is missing. Let's check this one. Here we are getting some space inside this src. Let's refresh the page 1 second. So we are getting image. With the help of interpolation we can able to do displaying data on the web page and we can do some arithmetic expressions and binding image. And along with this we can able to use methods also within the interpolation. We can able to call the methods from this file. Let's say display. I am taking one method, display data. I am taking this one as a display data as a method. Here you can see this parenthesis refers to the function, right? So we need to take this one inside the class component. So here I am taking written some text here, data from method. This should also work as expected. Here you can see bottom of the screen, you can see data from method. Okay, so we have seen interpolation in different ways, binding an HTML attribute ID and image SRC and displaying data with the help of method also. Now we will see property binding. So what is the difference between property binding and interpolation? So property binding is nothing but binding HTML element properties dynamically. So I just want to do something like, let's copy the same thing with the help of property binding. So property binding is represented with the help of square braces. Here you can see that SRC I am binding this one as a square braces. I am removing the interpolation for this one. I am using property binding refers here as a square braces. Let's comment the above image. It should work as expected. Here you can see the image is also binding with property binding. Here we can do many things with the help of property binding. Some things can be done with the help of both interpolation and property binding. But there are some situations where we have to use interpolation particularly, and some other situations we have to go for property binding. Let's see the same example. Let's take some button, type equal to button, okay, and I'm naming this one as a save. As we are using bootstrap btm-info. I'm taking some bootstrap classes. Let's refresh the page. Where is the button? Here it is coming. I think we are not installed the bootstrap. For now I'm commenting this image SRC. Here you can see the button. Okay, I want to disable or enable this button with the help of property binding. Remember one thing, interpolation will work only for strings, not for the boolean values. Let's say if I want to bind the value like disable property, with the help of interpolation it will not work. So for example, it will work with the property binding. Here you can see this button has been disabled. You can able to see this one, right? This is kind of disabled. Let's do the same thing. Let's take some property onto the class template, button disabled equal to true. I'm taking. So let's bind this value into the template. Okay, here you can see this button has been disabled. Once we'll try this same thing with the help of interpolation. As it is the boolean value, interpolation will not work with these things. See here, let's wrap it to some heading. Property binding, property binding, and interpolation. You can see the difference here. Interpolation. Here you can see both the buttons are disabled. So what we'll do is we'll make this one as a false, means the button should be enabled. Here you can see this button is here, the button is enabled with property binding and the button is disabled with the interpolation. We have done the same thing. We made this one as a false and we are using property binding for the disabled property. It is working as expected when we change the value of boolean value to false, but it is still disabled with the interpolation. So the only difference is like interpolation will work only with the strings, not with the boolean values. we'll see one more example for the property binding. Let's say I want to bind this greet welcome to Angular 2 as a inner HTML thing. We know about inner HTML in JavaScript, right? So for example, let's take one paragraph. Okay, I want to bind this greet message to inner HTML. Like here you can see inner HTML equal to greet. Let's see. You can see the welcome to Angular is working as expected. Here we have used property binding. This is inner HTML property, and we have binded the greet value. So that's it for this session, guys. Thank you guys for watching. See you in the next session.